I mean, I'm doing this video and podcast for a selfish reason, like totally so I can look back in, I don't know when. Hello everyone, welcome to the Edward White Audio Thoughts. Again, this is story time. This is where I choose one subject matter and try and talk to it and about it for, I'd say about 20 minutes roughly. Yeah, it's been quite interesting and it's been quite nice to kind of get a load of different type of content. How I was making my content before was I would do a podcast episode or I would record my meetings and then I would, pull the micro bits of content. So micro bits of content is like a minute, 2 minutes long from the hour and a half podcast episode. Obviously I can't do that because social distancing and yeah, the world's shut down. So I've got to make content differently. And I've quite enjoyed doing this sort of thing where I talk to the camera. I really enjoy it. I really like it. I like the fact that I can get different pieces of content and just give my thoughts and sort of share my opinions, really. I do get quite personal in these sort of things. And I do believe that transparency wins, really, in terms of like, if you're trying to front it in your content, then it's going to come out some time or other. Yeah, let's get on. So this week I wanted to talk about investing. It's not something that I do a great deal of or know a great deal about, but I just wanted to say really look at, if you can, look at how you can invest your money, or at least learn about how you can invest your money. There's lots of different things out there. How I got this idea was from listening to a podcast with Tim Ferriss. So they talk about how they started to learn about investing, and from a very sort of early stage in their lives where they didn't really have the money to invest. And I think that's where I am at the minute, is I don't have the money to invest. But I've started to put in practices in place where I've built I've started a lifetime investment ISA account that invests in different stocks and bonds. And then I've also looking at other accounts and how I can put my money to good use, but starting with a small amount. That's what I'd say is build routines of how of investing. So I literally invest £30 a month, which is nothing. It's tiny, but I'm looking to up that to £100 a month, and then eventually up that to 200, 500, 1,000, and then that for me is where the difference comes in for people. Because a lot of people live month to month, and I really think if you just live a little bit under your means, a little bit not necessarily going to all those places or buying all those cars or all those clothes and stuff, live a little bit under your means and just put that amount away. Don't even think about it and have it as an automatic coming out of your bills and see it as a bill, essentially. Who did I hear? Tony Robbins talked about this before, where if the government decided that they were going to add another 20% tax, you'd have to pay it. There's nothing you could do about it. You'd have to pay it. You'd bitch, you'd moan, but you'd have to pay that extra 20% tax. You almost want to tax yourself 20% on whatever you earn, and try and tax yourself that 20%, and then keep that to the side and start investing it in different things. Another good book I read, which I haven't read any of the Tony Robbins stuff. I don't really know his stuff too well. I'm not too sure what I think about him at the minute. I'm going to read one of his books just because I do think that you should give everyone a chance, and yeah, there might be some knowledge in there, and if there is, I would definitely share that with you. One of the books that did have sort of a big impact in terms of this and my mindset about money was a book called I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Smith. Called I Will Teach You to Be... Right, if you're listening to this on the podcast, I'm going to re-record this bit because I got his name wrong, which I should have read before, but yeah, I want to make this into micro content, so this goes back to the micro content. One book that I can just imagine people listening to the podcast. I'm really sorry. Right, one book that I will recommend. One book that had the biggest impact on me was I Will Teach You to Be Rich by Ramit Sethi. I think I'm saying his name right. I hope I'm saying his name right, but I'm really sorry if I didn't. But in this book, he talks about just various different things that you can do and how you don't have to live a life of really sort of scarcity to have a good life. You just have to know where your money's going, and you've got to put it to the uses that you want to put it to, and understand that if you do that and be quite stringent on what you're going to spend your money on, then your life will get a lot better, and you'll be able to save a lot more and develop and stuff. Yeah, really good book. The name doesn't really do it any justice because it sounds like one of those books that is just like a self-help kind of BS book, but it says no guilt, no excuses, no BS, just a 6-week program that works. And it does. It took me a little bit longer to do it, but I do think that like if you can put those rules in place where you do invest a certain amount, you save a certain amount. Yeah, good book. Highly recommend. Get it. Another thing that I would recommend, and this is quite new to me, I've had it for a little while, but I didn't realise that it could do this, and that is having a Monzo account. They are a new bank. There's other ones out there like Sterling. What's the other one? I can't remember the other one, but they're essentially the modern day bank account, and they work really well in the sense that you can build up. And what they're called on Monzo, I don't know what they're called on anything else. I don't know if they do it on anything else, but they're called pots. And you can save little pots that have different things. So I've got one for Bella's birthday. I've got one for my car insurance. I've got one for a liquidity that I wanted to go to this year, but that's not going to happen. And then I've got one for saving for a Vanguard account. So you can set the amounts that you want these to save to, and then you can lock it for a certain amount of time. So I've got mine set to unlock on a certain date. So like my car insurance will come out in August. Bella's birthday will come out at the beginning of October. And then, yeah, various different things. So I think that's quite a good tool because like everyone says you should save money and you should have an ISA and stuff like that. But I think by having the pots, you don't get any interest on it, so that's kind of a downside to it. But you do get you have that sort of visual representation, and I think for me that gamification helps a lot in terms of like you can actually see the percentage of how much you've wanted to save. So it almost encourages you to save a little bit more or want to put in a bit more next month and stuff like that. So yeah, that would be one thing I would recommend. Another thing I would recommend is having a separate account for different things. So I have all my money that comes out in terms of direct debits and stuff come out of one account. I try and live off of another account. And then that way my money's separated, so I don't ever see the money that it is in different places. So yeah, try and separate your money if you can, and look at where your money is and how it's sort of working for you. Because I think if you have it all coming out of one account, it's so tempting to just spend on that direct debit or that contactless, on the direct debit account. So then you don't really know where your money is going, essentially. And again, that's why Monzo is really good for this, is because it will give you an up-to-date, like literally instantaneously, how much you spent, where you spent it, and it will come out of your account. So you can see it like there. That's a good thing about these kind of banks. And I'm surprised that the other banks haven't caught on and done a similar sort of thing. Yeah, and then my old kind of thing of being a minimalist and living within your means and just living with what you need and being comfortable with what you need. That would be one of my biggest pieces of advice is just, what are you spending money on that's stupid? Like, I used to spend about 80 quid a month on like vaping stuff. And like, it's such a stupid habit. If you vape, it's such a stupid habit. Like, and I didn't realize this until like, yeah, I gave up. But and it's like such a waste of money. Like 80 quid a month and over £1,000 a year, just on something that is so intangible. Try and give it up if you can. Yeah, and look where you're spending money. But don't skimp on the things that are important to you. Like if there's something that is important to you, then buy it and get it. But understand that is coming out of a certain pot. Another thing I do in terms of business is, and I think this is quite good advice. I think a lot of people should do it. I don't think they do. So I have my business account. I then have a savings account and then have another business account, which is so like a current account. So I have 2 current accounts and 1 savings account. The current account is where all the money comes in and I pay myself. I then have the savings account, which I put 20% of everything I earn into that account, into this account, and that is my tax. No ifs, no buts. Every time I get paid, literally 20% goes straight into there. I then have this account, which I then also put 20% into, and this is my equipment fund. And it goes back to that Tony Robbins saying of like, tax yourself that amount of money. So tax yourself 20%, and that tax has helped me to get a good lump sum money within the business account if I ever need to get a new camera, if I ever need to buy anything new, that's going to come out of that fund. And I mean, it's kind of been a godsend in the sense that like, I have that backstop of money if it say we go for a global pandemic, I don't know. I've got that money. Yeah, I just think like, be really sensible. If you're starting a business, like this is just for business people now. If you are in a business or if you're starting a business, be really sensible about your money. Think how much you need to pay yourself. Try and pay yourself as little as possible if you can. And yeah, like look at where you're paying your money. Try and separate your money into different accounts. Again, it's a different account thing. Like, where is your money going? Have a look at it and keep it in separate accounts so that you are aware of it and you understand it. Yeah, that's my kind of advice, really. I just think research compound interest, so you have an understanding of how interest actually works and how it can be really beneficial to you if you just put in a set amount per month, because the interest that you then get on top of it every year has such I think in the book they said it's about year on year, it's about averages about 8% increase year on year, which I think like that's quite a lot of money for free. Yeah, just think about it. Really take a look at your money. Let your money work for you. And you might not have the most amount of money, which I honestly don't. If you go back to one of my older videos, I said how much I paid myself, and it is literally under £12,000 last year, which isn't a lot of money, and yeah, let your money work for you. Let it be. Yeah, be sensible. Try to live within your means. Don't try not to buy stuff on finance. Yeah, I sound a bit like a preachy dad, but I do think it's important, and I think the sooner you can learn this and the sooner you can start putting money away from you, I think it's going to pay off. I mean, I'm doing this video and podcast for a selfish reason, like totally so I can look back in, I don't know when, 30 years, I'll be 55. I can look back when I'm 55 and go, yeah, I put these things in place since I was 25. Look at the video. And like, I do think it's going to be important. I think a lot of people don't realise it, but I think it'll pay off, and I hope it'll pay off. And I could be wrong, but I think I'm going to be right. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening if you are listening on the podcast. Yeah. Do you have anything that you would like me to cover, or anything that you'd like me to talk about? I do have a few things that I want to talk about, and I do have a few things that I want to discuss and things like that. But I do kind of want to get your input, and I want to get your thoughts on it, really. Yeah. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.